Welcome to WagerTalk TV, everyone. Minty Beth here with Steve Merrill at Steve Merrill on Twitter. 2 R's, 1 L. No L's this weekend, though. And Tony Finn at WagerTalk on Twitter. We're talking Monday Night Football. This is going to be quite a game, everyone. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs heading over to Baltimore, taking on the Ravens. The Ravens are actually a favorite of 3.5 points as we speak. And the total is set at a high 54. Tony, I would love to know your thoughts here. Is there any value on taking the dog, Kansas City?
Well, I think this is a coin flip game. In truth, if there was fans allowed in the stands, I think you would probably see Baltimore as a 4.5 point favorite, maybe even a 5 point favorite in this game because of the way they've performed so far. I mean, that was it. This is a team that's better than they were last year. And that was clear in week one. And although maybe is that a good sample, Cleveland, the way they've played, but going to Houston and playing a Houston team was coming off. I thought they performed fairly well against Kansas City, to be completely honest. Kansas City was fortunate to cover that game, I think, in a 14-point final. And for the most part, you got 2 MVPs. You got 2 former league MVPs. You got 1 Super Bowl MVP. And it should be really good. Here, I have a lot of questions about Kansas City and who they want to be and who they are. And I think Baltimore is basically is a carryover from last year. They're exactly who they were last year, save they're even better than they were defensively. And when they have a quarterback like listen, when you have a all pro that is his desires of just being MVP, league MVP are much like Mahomes, they're not enough. And Mr. Jackson has the ability to do a few things that I think are the Achilles of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. One of them is when they do put pressure, he's the guy that is able to avoid that pressure. Something that Kansas City is probably, if there's a weak link to this team, it comes on the defensive line. Despite the fact that they're Super Bowl champions, they do not pressure the quarterback. And if you can't pressure Jackson and you give him the time to throw, and his receivers go. In a nutshell, if you can't tell, I'm leaning towards Baltimore in this game. I think they won a little bit of piece. They won a piece of Kansas City from last year's a game that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, guys, in the regular season, that was the last game they lost. Is that correct?
I think so. Steve, what do you think about this game? What do you think about this game?
Yeah, what's interesting about that is it was actually September 22nd, so it was exactly a year ago. It was this week, a year ago, that they played in Kansas City. And if you recall, the Chiefs were up. They were down 6-0 after the first quarter, but then they were up 23-6 at halftime. They really turned it on in that second quarter, and they were up 30-13 heading into the fourth quarter until Baltimore kind of had to come from behind cover. They were losing by just 5, 33-28. That game went over the total. As you mentioned, though, Minty, it's a very high total for this one. But for good reasons. These two teams combined for over 900 yards in that meeting last year. And I see no reason why it's not a shootout again. You know, at the current price of 53.5, 54, it's not that high, relatively speaking, to what these offenses are capable of doing. Baltimore's looked good so far, no question about it. And I think they are probably the number 1 ranked team in the odds makers power rankings. And as Tony mentioned, if we had a full fan, base here, they'd probably be 4, 5, 5.5. It's still 3.5, though. It's over that key number of a field goal, though. But I still think the total is the best way to look at this one. It's over or nothing for me. Hey, look, I took some shots with the unders last week, and I got burnt. And I'm almost not playing the under anymore in the NFL. It's all, especially the fourth quarter. These games just seem to soar over in the fourth quarter. Being Monday night prime time, I look for both offenses to have the edge again, just like they did a year ago when they put up, once again, over 900 total yards. I've seen nothing changing. And the fact that Kansas City struggled offensively last week, I actually think this total is a little bit lower than it would have been, and maybe a couple points lower because of that. So I have no problem pulling the trigger with the over here in Monday Night Football.
Love it. How high would you take the total, though? 56.5, 57? I can see it moving up and up.
Yeah, I really feel like at 53.5, 54, the current number as we're doing this midweek, 55, 56, 56 is a dead number. 55 is not that important. I'd say 57, 58 get a little more important. So I think it could go a few points. And I think it probably will by the end of the week. I would expect the public to be on the over. But once again, that slow start last week against San Diego or the LA Chargers has probably kept this a little lower than it would have been a week ago.
All righty, guys. Remember, $9 Mondays every Monday at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Get any handicappers daily package or best bet for only $9. Thank you, gentlemen.